Welcome everyone, I'm Mike O'Neill with Integrated Alliances, and I'm going to teach you how to develop a social media strategy around LinkedIn. I've been in the business a long time. I've been doing this sort of work for other firms and for ourselves, and I'm going to share with you things that I learned in the process of doing that. Our agenda is pretty simple. We're going to start with LinkedIn. I'll make a compelling case for you. Then we're going to look at the components of the process. Then we're going to add the other platforms in. Eventually, I'm going to show you where to focus your time and attention so you don't spend time on things you shouldn't be doing. So a social media strategy is what we're talking about. No strategy means having brand gaps. You look different over here than over there. People think that's really not the same organization, or you're living in different points in time is actually the case. This was done in 2007 and hasn't been revisited since. That's a common problem. The other thing is wasted resources are abundant. You've got people redoing things here and there, and that can be consolidated and highly leveraged. There's always a risk when you're not planning things. Things that weren't anticipated are likely to happen. And you're going to miss out on some sales. You're just going to have folks out there that are going to turn their back. They're going to hit the back button because they don't like what they see. On the flip side, a good strategy brings it all together for you, puts it under one envelope. It lets you leverage those resources that were being wasted. It reduces the workload of the people, and in actuality what it means is we can put more on their plates. We can expect more. We already are. And they'll be able to absorb it because they've got these efficiencies that boost the bottom line. I'm talking about an integrated presence across these different platforms, and these are the 5 big ones that we'll discuss today in terms of a platform and then the strategies for doing the 4-step process across all 4 of them. Your brand, according to Wikipedia, has a lot to do with visuals, with distinctiveness, with design, with things that make you stand out. We're going to focus quite a bit of the energy today on how to stand out. Owning your own brand means that you've generally got the URL for it. If someone else has the URL and it's your brand, then you're promoting their brand while you're trying to promote yours. You know, IBM had a lot of nice insight at one time because, you know what? Someone else could have gotten that domain. And in a lot of cases, these things have actually happened. Ask Shaquille O'Neal about his domains. It's important to put someone behind the wheel. Someone's got to drive. You need some person, one single head to choke, some area of responsibility. And generally, that's where sales and marketing come together. In your team, you're going to need other navigators. Other people are going to need to help. It's a team process, but one person is behind the wheel. This vehicle needs fuel. Fuel comes in the form of money. It also comes in the form of time. There are things that are going to be needed, especially at the early stages before we get to the steady state, that require there to be dedicated resources, a real budget, real people who have meetings and time set aside. In some cases, you've got outside vendors as resources as well. In the B2B world, we start with LinkedIn. It's really, really clear. And then we move on to the other platforms. It starts around LinkedIn. So in order to get ready, we got to first get the company ready. The business has to look like it's ready for business. Then we get in with the marketing folks. Marketing folks need to take hold of this. They have to provide leadership because the executive team and management need advice. They're counting on marketing to pull this off. They're counting on other people to filter up to them the things that they got to do in terms of writing checks for stuff, getting that budget out there, and then making it all look good. Getting people on board is one of the issues. You've got your own internal team. You've got a little bit of a stick you can use with the internal team. It's a carrot and stick thing. You can tell employees what to do. We've got a training Tuesday at 4. You got to be there. Okay? It's a different thing when you're dealing with channel partners. You are offering them a program on Tuesday at 4. It isn't an assignment. You can do a few things like, gosh, you've got to be certified for this or that. But for the most part, you have got the carrot in that situation. And in all cases, the dream are our natural leaders, the folks that people already look up to. So in terms of getting our social media strategy out there and implemented and getting everyone going for it, these are the folks to court. We have a simple methodology, and it's 10 years we've been going through this. Pay attention, I'll go kind of slow and I'll explain as we go along. The first step is to build profiles and pages. Your profile, your page. A company has profiles of employees. Those need to be optimized in a team approach. The company page is done by marketing and the profiles are done by individuals, but that can be done with help. There's ways to accelerate the process of getting profiles really cranking for the sales activity. Once you've got your profile up and going, your network, your people you connect to, and the followers, those that are paying attention to the company officially, come into play. Because that process of building that drives traffic back to your profile and page. So do you want them to drive them back to a profile and a page that has what? Phone numbers and greeting messages and all the good stuff, all the words and all. You do. You don't want to drive them back before you do that. So once you get spiffing though on your profiles and pages, the network building is pretty enthusiastic. It's pretty neat driving people back to it. We're all set up now to engage customers, to engage partners, and to begin marketing to them so that we can, sell and close deals. If you do things in the wrong order here, then you're marketing to an audience that's not there, you're driving people to a page that's not converting, you're doing things the wrong way. So just remember like baseball and keep it going. Now, where to focus is in the process here, okay? Focus on one step in the process, and it starts with text. We're really familiar with text. Social media seems like it's based on text. LinkedIn seems like it's based on text. There's words everywhere. And there are also visuals. And the visuals are where the new leading edge stuff is. Putting pictures in a profile that people aren't used to seeing. Visually painting your imagery of what happy customers or events you have or you're speaking on stage, your CEO is. These are things that are powerful visuals that do a whole lot more than saying, I'm good, look at me on stage. We talked about the network that gets us put in touch with people. That process happens very much in context with our content. Because content are the little pieces of interesting stuff, cool things I saw, cool things marketing wants our audience to see. We pump them out through the network and they have visuals and text with them. It works going forward and it works going backward. We'll start with text. Text in the LinkedIn space is rather wordy. There's a lot of places to put text and people really notice it. Didn't I say we start with LinkedIn? So in the text world out here, there are a bulk pieces of text that get purposed over here and purposed differently over there. Twitter doesn't have much space for you, for example. Facebook has a lot of space and nobody hardly notices it. LinkedIn has a lot of space and everybody notices it. Different situation for YouTube and for Google+. We've got a little book called Rock the World with Your Online Presence that helps people get their LinkedIn text together. And once you get started with your LinkedIn text, remember, we're able to repurpose that to other places. Now, visuals, for example, in the LinkedIn world here, are very much based around headshot photos. That's the traditional thing. This is what the only thing there was for a long, long time. Things came along a little bit later. Companies had pages now, and you could have visuals in the company pages when someone lands there. It's kind of like going to a website. You got a header up there. Wow. What goes in the header on the website? Gee, that's a good candidate for what goes in the header here on the company page. Ultimately, I mentioned content. We're going to be sending things out to people and nice pretty pictures and things that that draw the eye and things that represent those posts, those pieces of content as a still image, as a poster frame, a still image. Those are really important. Every piece of content should have a picture in it so that when it's forwarded and liked and all, there's a picture that goes with it. Your network reach, these are the people that are going to see these environments out here, and the content that we bring out to them has to pull them in. It has to be really compelling. We find out who we want to attract and what do they want to see. What do they want to see and what are they maybe not getting now? Because if everyone's pumping the 10 best tips for how to place your fingers on a keyboard, maybe we want to find a different topic. Something that people who are tired of that might be interested in doing. How to stand out is a big part of what we're talking about here. I mentioned about the text. So let's get specific about what we do with text. That's the first step of the process. Your issues start out with findability. The search engines need to find you, and you put words out there that are specific to your target market, your products, the things that are all about you. You don't take stuff from over there and put it over here just to get traffic. Okay? There's a lot of gaming the system that happens with SEO. This is not the place for that here. When you're doing a systematic approach here, it's not about gaming it and gaming it everywhere. Really tight text, but have in mind your SEO. Next, we're going to talk about where things go. Certain words are best for greeting people. They go at the top. Hi, welcome, 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 welcome. Look at this nice white space. So I made it nice and easy for you to read my message. Next, though, is where are we going to put that stuff? Profiles are where this language goes for an individual. It goes in a summary. It goes in the job description area. You might create some text that would go for a label for the websites that you're putting on. These are all optimized things that centrally we can do to make sure the team out there doesn't have to wonder what to call the website. Well, guess what? We'll just call a company website, right? Isn't that what you see? We can do better, and we will. The other location is the corporate assets. And that's the company page and the pages and showcase pages, all that stuff that marketing has control of. And the content that they're pumping on out through those properties and the content that they're asking employees to go distribute. As there's a blog post by the marketing manager or by a CEO or something like that, they want to get that content out through the profiles of the people that are under their control. So the process is really pretty simple. We're just going to start with LinkedIn. That's it. That's the holding place for the big amounts of text, and then we'll dumb it down, parse it out for these other platforms. You've got more text, lots of text on the LinkedIn side, much less text in the YouTube side. You can kind of see that why you would start with LinkedIn in the deployment process. Visuals are the real big piece that's coming in. This is what's really driving innovation this next year. The reason that visuals matter is they differentiate you. They put you in a different category with other people who look kind of bland, who look like they're templated, who looks like they've defaulted their look and feel. We want to attract people with our visuals. We want them to love our pretty pictures, love our concise message. It's not just pictures, but it's how we say in as few milliseconds as possible through visuals that pulls somebody in. People appreciate that level of punctuality. This all boosts your credibility. Every time that people see you and they see the same thing, they go, wow, 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 wow. Actually, in a lot of times, people don't really know where they are. They're on this side or that side. We've had people say they're on the site and they're looking for something, and really they're on the YouTube site. They're not on the website. They're not on the LinkedIn site. This is all part of a bigger picture. We've got text, remember? We've got our visuals, really important part. It goes with network and content, as we talked about. There's a machine and an engine that goes in the visual process. The piece of doing this can be actually very mechanical. I'm only going to show you a few things about it here, but it really dives down deep. And if you're a designer sort of person, and if you really kind of think about your social media messages as being very similar to your regular messages, what you do in marketing, it's really pretty easy. So the design process, once again, we start with LinkedIn, but in this case, LinkedIn is less difficult. It has less. There are fewer objects, fewer things that you need to map around. So I'll give you a quick look at how this works. In marketing, we create these design objects. These are just little pieces. Call them building blocks. Call them Legos. You might have 10 or 15 of these. And then we've got a canvas, a blueprint, that we take these items and we drop them down into. Now, they're not all going to fit. We'll pick the 3 or 5 that fit for LinkedIn and the 3 or 5 that fit over there, or the 8 for that one, or whatever. In some cases, you've got a pretty messy system to map around. You've got these little boxes in place that you got to map around. I try to make it look a little easier for you here, just so we can get on to the next part, which is really, though, about testing and on mobile. So on the left was the first cut at our Google Plus page. We got it all designed, gaming it think we got it going pretty good and all. And guess what? No, we don't. We got this happen, that happened, this happened, that happened. Had to restructure it, scoop it in a little bit, and now you see the after picture. And no matter what, things are going to change. Twitter's changing right now. They got a new design. This is the new Twitter header design. What do you think about it? So I want to talk about being in. And being in this context means, are you in the LinkedIn space with your company? Starts with being on the org chart. First of all, you hope you're on the org chart. I hope so. If you're on the org chart, but you're not showing on the LinkedIn company page, we've got a gap there. So this is where marketing or an admin or HR has to visit with the employees that are, first of all, on LinkedIn and not on the company page. They're misdirected. They went this way or that way, and they just didn't do it quite right. Training really helps there. Essentially, what you want your team to do is to go into their profile to where the company is, backspace over whatever's there, and start typing it in again. Because it'll appear in a drop-down box now, and that drop-down box will officially make sure that you show up here. Now, you may find folks that don't even have the current employer on their profile. There's another group of people to work with. I think you'll find some folks maybe that even aren't on LinkedIn, but very few of those nowadays, especially in the kind of environments that we're talking about. So, content is what I call a honeypot. And that's what attracts people to wherever you want them to go. If you've got content out here on this platform, well, you promote that and people go there and they see a message and they see a visual component to you and they see content out there on Twitter, content on Facebook, content on LinkedIn, content on these other platforms, and it's all nice and centralized. The systems and tools for doing that, pretty simple. Adding Twitter, on the other hand, takes you to another whole level. Everything I was kind of talking about was all kind of centralized around LinkedIn. The next step beyond LinkedIn is out into the Twitter space. And the Twitter space is one that goes really, really well with LinkedIn. For example, the issue you run first of all is who owns the account? Who owns the company Twitter account? And then you've got to deal with all of the individual accounts of people on the team. This is the area where people get into a little trouble sometimes. So people use LinkedIn and use Twitter and use events together kind of in one big space. So here's your Twitter background and your Twitter header on the left, and then You can see, oh, there's an event out here, an event that might be on Eventbrite, another platform, and now we're going to use Twitter to promote an event. Do you see how Twitter is being used here in the Twitter follower world to drive attendance to a physical event? And that's how the cross-platform part here works pretty well. We're not done. We've got Facebook and Google Plus to talk about in a real brief way. They work pretty similarly. You've got profiles on both of them for people. You've got pages on both of them for others. There's not a lot of real mystery in these worlds out here because we're talking about a B2B environment for the most part, and they don't play as much in a B2B environment. But things are different with YouTube. With YouTube, this is where we host our videos. The videos we use in all those other places can reside, and typically do reside, in YouTube. They reside on our company channel. The YouTube channel is a place that looks a little bit like a website. It's got things called playlists on it. And playlists are kind of like blog categories. Very, very similar, except the content on the blog is primarily a video. But don't videos have, words that describe them and headers and keywords and all? They're just a blog that's essentially more about playing videos than about the interaction. There are challenges. And the biggest challenge, first of all, is with adoption. Getting your team to adopt these processes and these things that you've put together. The ones that are already successful are a little harder to get on board sometimes, although they may be knocking it out because of LinkedIn. It's harder to tell someone who's making their number and blowing it out that they got to do something different. Got a little more clout with the folks that are either barely making quota or folks that are below that period in terms of adoption. You've got this real fear of shiny objects, and it's a real fear. It's a real thing that happens. I'll put out a scenario. In the morning, someone gets a message on LinkedIn from somebody and says, wow, I just found this wonderful 10-tip thing. So you click on the 10-tip thing and it takes you to a page where, you got to put in your email address first. And when you put in your email address, it's got an opt-in. If you really want to see it now, you got to go back to your email inbox and click on something there to go see it. And when you go see it, it's got all these great things that you should put into play. And you started this at 8:30 in the morning and now it's noon. So keeping a little bit of blinders on is one of the things you're going to have to kind of implement in doing this this process here. And one really way around it is a social media policy. Social media policies tell you what's okay and what's not, do's and don'ts. More don'ts than do's, but nowadays the do part involves expectations of your team, expectations of employees. We expect our employees to tweet this out, to like this, to share this content out to their network. Just like we would expect employees to send an email that we have a company event going next week. Email over here has been a little bit replaced or complemented with social media interaction, shares and likes and messages and things of such nature. Because things can happen. Without a policy, Chrysler, for example, could be in a lot of trouble, and they were in a lot of trouble. And I don't know if they had a policy against this or not, but a lot of companies are really jumping nowadays to having policies to at least let employees know what's okay and what's not. Domino's had a little bit of trouble with that, and frankly, one of the airlines did as well. Smashing guitars is really not a good way to make friends, especially in the days of iPhones. So these are our takeaways. Get your team together, okay? Get your team together. Remember to equip them with money, equip them with time. Do an inventory of your social media assets. Visit each one of your properties and grab some screenshots and put them into a single Word file. That's a really great way to do that. So you've got like an inventory. You'll print it out and you'll go to your desk or go to to the big boardroom table and lay out those pictures and see how you look on these platforms. Okay. You also get ideas for where you want to grab your design objects from. You'll say, wow, I like that over on Twitter. Why don't we use that on Facebook? I don't know why we don't. Well, let's do that now. Let's pull together our inventory of objects as well. It's really simple. We're going to start with LinkedIn. We're going to add the other platforms, and we're going to do it in this nice methodical way with text and visuals, a network to distribute our content. So I actually have a really nice guide to show you how to do much of this graphic stuff. These pieces that I pulled out of here, the detail I pulled out of here, it's out in this other document. It's for decision makers, so it tells you what the issues are. When you've got a team and you've got to kind of get your arms around the team. This is what I want you to do, guys. We're going to set these goals. We're going to look this way. We're going to get this done by a certain amount of time. If you're a designer, it's a beautiful guide for you as well. The how-to instructions, where the cutoff points are and where the design points are, the dead spots. Don't put your phone number over here because it's going to get cut off by a like button. And finally, entrepreneurs kind of do a little bit of both. If you're sort of in this space at all where the responsibility for how your company looks to the general public, you want to get this guide, and it's free. rockinsidesales.com. There's other resources there as well. I always get asked, Mike, well, how can you help me? Well, we do consulting in this space. We coach individuals. We consult with companies for the most part. We do training for teams in person. You can imagine what a live workshop with me is like. This is just on a webinar. Now, a webinar, on the other hand, is where you want to break things down into pieces. You can do a long workshop. You don't do a long webinar. You do a series of 60-minute webinars. And then e-learning really supports it so people can get training whenever they want. They can touch up when it's their own time. We write profiles and do company page optimizations, do work with content and all. And I'd like to speak at your event if you've got something real interesting going on and you think my message might ring with them. Particularly, we generally speak around LinkedIn training for teams. This opportunity here is one to go in a little bit different direction with sales and marketing stuff. So there's me. Got a phone number, got an email address, got a Twitter ID. If I can help you or your team, let me know. I'd be happy to take your questions. Send me an email that says, Mike, got this issue going on. Or Mike, our company was thinking about that. Or, I heard something and I didn't know if I believed it. What do you think, Mike? I'll take those questions for you. Thanks, everybody. Once again, I'm Mike O'Neill with Integrated Alliances.